Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Impossible. I'm your co-host, Austin, and today I wanted to briefly discuss the term gravity, what it means to me, what it means to the journey that I've been on, but also we'll define it here real quick, and ultimately how it's been unable to not stay in my way on this journey. So, actually, first off, let's define it real quick. So, the definition that we all use gravity for, I suppose, or at least that I would, is the gravitational attraction of the mass of the Earth, the Moon, or a planet for bodies at or near its surface. So gravity is what we experience that keeps us, planet on the ground. Or a fundamental physical force that is responsible for interactions which occur between a mass between particles, between aggregations of matter, and aggregations of matter that is 10 to the negative 39 times the strength of the strong force, and that extends over infinite distances but is dominant over macroscopic distances, especially between aggregations of matter. So that's kind of reaching into the force, the gravitational force itself, its properties, and how we use it to basically to measure those forces, not only within our local area, but gravity is something that all bodies of matter experience throughout the universe, of course. So the definition that I've been using it here of recent would be a serious situation or problem. The gravity of the situation. So, the gravity of the situation that I've had to experience over the past almost 6 months now is a bone marrow transplant that, if the stem cell transplant portion would not have been successful, it would have taken my life. That is how serious the chemotherapeutic regimen is that one goes through for a bone marrow transplant. And there were other side effects and other possibilities that I did not have to face due to this being an autologous, however you want to say it, bone marrow transplant versus an allogeneic. Allogeneic is donor-based, but I did the autologous, which is based for myself. So I didn't have to worry about a whole host of problems, the biggest one being the grafts versus host disease, to where your body could possibly reject the donor-based stem cells, because there's a bit more personal preference, I guess you could call it. Not necessarily. I don't know if it's DNA or not. I don't remember precisely, but basically there's a lot more like your code, DNA, I guess, and other things that is intertwined with stem cells versus like a blood transfusion. Blood transfusion, you just need to find somebody with the same blood type, or or like one of the blood types that can be integrated with others. Whereas a stem cell transplant, when you come into donor based, it's something to where that we can't necessarily test to a precise point of knowing whether or not you're going to react to it. So the autologous, the stem cells based from my body, is the route that we went down, and that's kind of the first route that you go when it comes to bone marrow transplants, depending upon the cancer type. And in my case, we did that. And the gravity of the situation, again, being that I would have succumbed to the intensity of the chemo that I went through if the stem cell transplant would not have been actually successful. And so the gravity of that situation has weighed to different measures over the course of these past 6 months. So when in December and into January especially, there were moments where I had felt that the gravity of the situation was to a measure of keeping me down, keeping me on the ground. And I was struggling to find the strength to get back up and to stay up, especially. And so in dealing with that on the daily, I guess, especially on the daily, I noticed many times that I would ask for help. I would ask for a relief of that gravity. I would ask for the release of that pressure that was building on top of me. And this was a fault of mine. This was not the right favor to ask. This was not the right question to inquire. I should not have been asking for the pressure to be relieved. I should not have been asking for less encumbering gravitational force to being applied on me. No, that's not what I should have been asking for. And I learned that through February, for sure. February was certainly a somewhat pivotal month for me. I was finally coming out of some of the effects of the chemo. Some of them still there, but they were markers of like hemoglobin, things like that, to where I wasn't able to return to a fully engaging and active lifestyle, but I was, somewhat coming out of the fog of that situation. And that is where I started being less sorry for myself. Reminding myself through the ways of humbleness that what I had just went through is something that many, many, many other individuals have gone through, and many individuals unfortunately will continue to have to hear those words that a bone marrow transplant will be their next line of treatment. And so that first of all humbled me. And you might say, "Oh, well, Austin, it's okay to this is you in this situation right here." Yes, I understand that sentiment, but at the same time, what we're trying to accomplish here at Impossible Performance, I need to do whatever I can, when I can, to show that it is possible to come out of a bone marrow transplant, to come out of something so traumatic as strong as possible. That is the duty that I've set upon myself in assisting anyone and everyone that I can. And in March, I spent some time overseas in Scotland, the home of my ancestors, something that I had come to absolutely love. Times that I will never forget, and moments that are still stuck. Not stuck. They still float around my everyday experience here. I find myself floating around a little bit with these moments, and really and truly being thankful for what I got to experience over there. And as those memories float around, they're warm, embracing reminders of this sort of mindset shift that I had taken. And that mindset shift came in moments where analyzing what I had just gone through, exploring the many, many thoughts, both positive and negative, from those times. Amplifying particular moments of extreme lows and extreme highs. I realized that I no longer needed to be asking for relief of that pressure. I no longer needed to be given anything that of a favor, that of a prayer for the gravity of the situation to be lessened. I realized that I needed to be asking for the strength and a chance to build that strength, to be able to carry that weight, to be able to withstand that gravity, to be able to thrive within that applied pressure. Something incredible happened in those moments. Something profound had shown itself to me in a manner of which I had never experienced. And that was the realization that I had approached the past 3 years of this cancer journey. Not all wrong, but I'd been asking the wrong questions and begging for the wrong favors this entire time, when I should have been asking for a chance to instill discipline within my life, to engage in some consistent form that could generate an individual to be able to withstand the gravity of this situation, to be able to withstand what could come in this situation. Because as I speak to you here, I am still a cancer patient. I don't know if I'm cancer-free. Do I hope I have no cancer left? Yeah, of course. Of course. There's still a human that I'm trying to provide this foundational and firm life for. But I would be a fool at this point to think that life will just continue on with ease, like a feather slowly falling in the air. I have to be ready for what could come next. And those are treatment options that don't fare so well for my future. The amount of chemo that I've already been through has possibly, good chance, reduced the amount of time that I have here on this earth. That is why I'm doing everything that I can, activity-wise, lifestyle-wise, supplement-wise, we'll get there eventually. I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. So, there's a lot that I have to be prepared for in the future that could possibly go, quote-unquote, wrong. Quote-unquote, not what I desire to happen. But, again, what I have found is that you must not, and you cannot ask for these difficult times to go away, to just vanish. There's something poetic about the suffering that we can go through that can build us into something stronger. And I've traveled a lot. I've met a lot of people. I've seen a lot of situations. I understand that there are some atrocities and travesties and external factors that people are facing in this world that they can not simply just decide to do something different and move on from it. They can do their best to mitigate the suffering, but some people in this world are not able to just, start saving money and do this and do that we are able to do. So I want to stress that this is not a formula for everyone. But for those of you that have the opportunity, and I promise you that there's a gray area here that I'm leaving that I promise you is a lot smaller than what you are guessing or assuming. Because you know of who I talk about in terms of people in this world that are in situations that are pretty much inescapable to being inescapable. But those of you who are not chasing after goals, not living a life that you know that you can live, and just deciding not to, that's who I'm talking about. You are who I am talking to. I don't want you to have to experience the gravity of a situation of something similar to mine. That's why I explain it here. That's why I share these moments. I don't want you to have to be diagnosed with cancer and go through treatment after treatment after treatment and failure after failure of treatment to realize that life is something extremely beautiful and extremely incredible to be able to experience to its fullest. That's not what I want you to do. But what I am trying to express here is that the understanding of the gravity of time, of life, we get one chance. We have one opportunity. Do not ask for the favor. Do not ask for the opportunity to have this pressure just whisked away in the wind. Ask for the chance to build the strength to be able to bear your burden. That burden of existence. Stand up for yourself, bear it, and live life to the fullest. That's what we are trying to do here in Impossible Performance, is help you realize that there are opportunities every single day that you could be taking, that you may not be taking. And I understand that you're not going to hit every single target, but that's the whole point of being consistent, of building the discipline, of forming the strength, building the foundations underneath you to be able to put you on this path towards something greater. Does not come in asking favors for the pathway to be made easier, for the building of these columns to take less time. The whole point is to understand that you have the opportunity to ask an even greater question. And that is for the strength to be able to bear the gravity of your situation and come out of it a much stronger individual, an impossible individual. What I found, who I discovered in those moments in Scotland, was the Austin that I needed in my darkest times. The man that needed to be there when I was crawled up in the fetal position at my parents' house, going through my first relapse, experiencing hair loss for the first time, experiencing the pain of chemo, being delivered again and again and again, begging for everything to just stop, cursing towards the sky, what have I done to deserve this? Why me? I didn't want it to be somebody else, but why me? Why is this needless suffering being piled onto me? And the man I am today, and the individual that I intend on becoming, would have sat there, understanding why I'm asking those questions, but would have put the hand of empathy, but also of promise for a better tomorrow, would have been placed on my shoulder to just hang in there. That not only battling cancer was going to be a daily fight, but that afterwards, living with purpose was the path that I needed to take and that I was going to be taking. That continuing to lead a life of purposelessness, oh God, purposelessness that I had been leading before was not what I needed to be doing. Was not conducive towards my potential, towards what I should be doing, and that was helping others. And I knew that I wanted to help others. I knew that I needed to be in service of others, but I was struggling mightily with how I was going to be able to accomplish that. But I no longer struggle with that. Affecting as many lives as possible in such positive manners, and being a force for good in this life that I have, however long or short it may be. This pathway that I found did not come from asking and begging and pleading for the gravity of the situation to be let off and to be made that of a feather. But that I asked for broader shoulders. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening, watching, both. Thank you for following us on this journey. This is episode 99. Episode 99. It's been an incredible journey. But the time for reflection is not now. The time for reflection will be next week. On this journey that we have decided to take and we decided to tackle. And it's something that we do not regret. It is something that we are flourishing from, and we hope that you are doing the same. Because what we have learned over this time has been absolutely, I would say it's almost immeasurable in terms of life, of its impact on our lives. But we'll discuss more of that next week. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Because us here at Impossible Performance are striving to build a global culture of strength, fostering of spirit of growth, and constant pursuit of the impossible. Take care. And as always, be impossible.